Okay, so hi everyone, welcome to the second lesson of normal distribution. So today lesson will be continue on for the Wednesday one. So on Wednesday you learn that like what is a normal distribution, and then what is the characteristic of it, and then what is a standard normal distribution, and you also learn how to read the probability table, how to read the distribution table, like given the z-score and then you find the probability, which means you'll find the area under the curve. You also already learn how to sketch the curve and so on. Alright, so please make sure that you must go through and finish all your exercise for Wednesday. Only you come for today's lesson, because if not then you are going to be a little bit difficult for you. Okay, so you must make sure that you already you can answer all the questions, then after that only you can continue with this. So what are we going to do today is like the opposite way of it. So meaning that previously we find the z-score. Okay, I mean we are given the z-score, then after that you need to find the probability inside the table. So for today it will be like given the probability, then we need to find the z-score. Okay, so it's like you can imagine that it will be just like a reverse process, but it's going to be like a little bit tricky at the first, because like you need to try to reverse the way that you think about it also. Okay, so in your introduction part for this time I didn't put in like a lot of information for the previous class, because I think that it's just like the skill that you need to pick up. So please go through yourself if you forget something. Alright, okay, so for today's lesson I put in a table like this. Okay, so this is actually an introduction of standard normal distribution. One of the characteristic for a standard normal distribution also, but then I didn't put it in the last lesson because I don't want to like confuse you for the first time. But then I just want to explain to you like very briefly that what is that mean. Okay, so you see a table here, right? Okay, what is that mean is like in the middle is your mean, which is 0, which I think you already know. Okay, so what is the approximate, or like what is the rough percentage that actually included in a certain important interval. Okay, so you see, right, what happened here is like all this is the mean, and then the number here is something like we found out. So okay, you know that for standard deviation they have two characteristics that is like extra than the normal distribution. So which is your mean will be equals to 0, and then your variance or standard deviation will equals to 1. Now since you square also get 1, but when you square then of course standard deviation, then you have -1. Okay, so for this one, right, then meaning what is that mean? Okay, so the percentage here tell us that if this is our mean, so around 1 standard deviation from the mean, I should actually include 68.3% in between this. So meaning in general, or like in actually for all the normal distribution, okay, because this is standard. Okay, you don't need to know why, you just need to know this piece of information, because like this is about like integration, then they how to count it and so on. So there's no like really it's very difficult for me to explain lah. So but the idea is like this is a fact. Okay, so you just remember that for like from -1 to 1, meaning like 1 standard deviation from the mean, they were actually including 68.3% of your data will be like in between here. So meaning if we are talking about, this is a standard one, so if we talk about a normal distribution, right, it also means that like for example the height example that I used for previous class, so if this is 155 cm, then maybe one standard deviation it will be like 145 to 145 here, then 165 here. So meaning that 68% of the boy actually falls in the group of like 145 cm to like 165 cm, then after that like lesser and lesser and so on. Okay, so you just remember like 68%, so meaning like 34.1, then after that it goes to like 95%, 99%. Okay, so you do not need to memorize, but knowing this might be helpful for you to make some decision, and then maybe for you to check your answer also. Like for example, when you have something that like, okay, you are finding PZ, the area under the curve, like when your z is smaller than negative 1.5. So when you are finding 1.5, you know that you are roughly here. So it's impossible that you will get something like 0.3 and above, because like the data that be included in this part is only like 13.6 plus like 2.1 plus 0.1 like that. So roughly your probability will be like in between like 0.1, or like even the max is like, it's not even 0.2. Okay, so if your value are here, then you can roughly like guess and see your probability is what, and what you can realize is it's symmetrical, so it's like 0.5 and 0.5 here. Okay, alright, so now we'll be moving into the question part. So what is more important is actually the first 4 questions, which we talk about the, okay, so normally, right, when they give you Z and ask you to find probability, then it might be, they will give you much more like the interval one. But normally for this kind of question, when they ask given probability and ask you to find Z, so this part is more important, meaning the simple one, like compared to the inequality, compared to the one that you, the Z you want to find is like between interval, meaning something like this, then it, this one will be like much more important. Okay, alright, so number 1, given that Z is normally distributed with mean 0 and variance 1, find the value of K given that PZ smaller than K. Okay, so same thing, this is about drawing graph also, and drawing your curve is very important for you to do this part. So of course, after you get yourself familiar, then in your exam or what, you don't need to draw it, that's fine also. But I mean, drawing it may give you like a more clear, may give you a clearer idea on how you should proceed lah. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so number 1, probability for Z smaller than K is equals to this one. Okay, so how do you draw it? So let's do the same thing. I'm going to have like this. So this will be my 0 as normal, right? Okay, so my problem is now, normally, how do we decide we draw at the left side or right side? We decide by looking at the sign of the K. But the problem now is we don't have the K. Like, meaning we don't have the Z score. So what are we going to do? Then you need to decide where is your K from the probability. So probability meaning the area under the curve, right? And from the previous class, we know that this graph is symmetrical, meaning that the left side and the right side is the same, is 0.5 and 0.5. So the question goes like this. This is Z smaller than K, meaning that you know that you are going to shade the left side. Correct? Because Z smaller than, you are not going to shade the right side, right? Yeah, so you are going to shade your left side. So you have 2 choices here. Either you put your K here and shade here. The other one is you put your K here and shade here. Which one give you an area of 0.8246? So you see 0.8246 is like greater than 0.5. So that's why you are not going to draw it in the negative side. Because when you draw it in the negative side and you shade less than, of course your area is going to be less than 0.5. So that's why I'm going to draw my K here. So that's why I can get my area here as 0.8246. Because you see this is more than half. Then this is logical. So if you are putting it on your left side, then it seems like, it's not correct lah. Okay, so let's continue. So meaning probability Z smaller or equals to K will be equals to 0.8246. Okay, then the continue part is pretty easy because it's just like what you have done. So after you have PZ smaller than Q, then meaning you can actually change it to phi. Okay, so phi K will be equals to 0.8246. So how are you going to find this value? Okay, so now last time we are given Z, find the probability, so we are reading outside in. So now you are given probability and you need to find your Z, so meaning you are reading inside out. Okay, so now you need to find 0.8246 in your table. Okay, so you might feel like, how do I find it? Okay, so this one you start from 0, so the number here actually everything is like in sequence. It will be getting bigger and bigger, so you do not need to like find it like without knowing anywhere to start. So you just follow like, yeah, you see 0.6, 0.7, then 0.8, then you know that it's somewhere here. Okay, so there will be times that you can straight away find the value, which is like very easy for you lah. Then you just read what is the value, then you write your answer. But you remember there's a column like this, so that's why in majority of the time that you will need this. So that's why if you can find the exact same value, then you will take the value straight away. If you can't find that, meaning that you need to find the first number that is smaller than the particular value that you want to find. So for example, 0.28246, can I find it in the table? So when I go through, no, I don't have it. So I see the one that is nearest to it is like, I got 8238 and 8264. So which one I should go for? So you remember, for this column you are meant to add it, right? So meaning that you are going to get the number that is the first one smaller than this number. So for this one, 0.8264 already more than the number that you want, so you are going for 0.8238. Okay, so now we are here. Okay, 0.8238. So how many more do you need to get? 8246. So you are going to need 8. So that's why you can find 8 here. So that's why your answer will be, so 5k will be equals to 5. Then you put it in. So 238. So that's why 0.93. And then you need to plus 8. So that's why. Okay. If you want to write, right, then you can try to, from here, then you can add a line that like 0.8238 plus 0.0008. Then you write it here lah. But then if you can straight away get your answer, like check with your calculator and so on, then you do not need to do that. So for this type of question, right, calculator only can help you to check your answer. You cannot, like the previous class, that you can straight away press in and get your answer. So it's still very important for you to understand how to draw the graph. Okay, so 5, then meaning I'm going to get 0.93, which is this value, and I plus 8, so that's why 3. Okay, so that's why k equals to 0.933. Okay, then after you find this, right, actually what calculator can help you to do is you can check your answer with calculator. So for example, I get this number, that I know that this is smaller than, then what I can do is, you already know how to press, so I'm not going to speak about it here. So yeah, smaller than, so I'm using P. So that's why then I'm pressing 0.933. So if I can get the exactly same answer like the what is given in the question, then I know that my answer is correct. Okay, alright, so that's number 1. Okay, so let's move on for B. Probability for Z greater than K. Okay, so for this one, the same thing, you need to decide again where is your K. Okay, so now you can see this is greater than. What does that mean? Meaning that when you are going to shade, you are going to shade it on your right hand side. So where is your K, that the area here is smaller than 0.5. So same thing, the K here will be at the positive side also. Because if you draw it in the negative side, you are going to get an area that is more than 0.5. So I'm going to have K here, which this value will give me a number that is smaller than 0.5, which is logical here. Okay, so now same thing, I'm going to write it. So probability for Z greater than K will be equals to 0.2998. Okay, so the question comes. So if you still remember, you cannot read anything that is more than in your graph, correct? So what can you do? So you need to do the same thing exactly like what you did previously in the last lesson. So for you to find this, then you need to find what is the total. Then you need to minus the part that is less than, then only you can find the more than. So you need to use this idea here also. So meaning that probability for z greater than k is equals to 1 minus probability z smaller than k. Then only you can proceed. Okay, so now you can make a move of your number. Then after that you can z smaller than k. Okay, so I'm changing here and here. So after you use your calculator to count it, then you should be able to get 0.7002. Okay, then now you can change it to 5 already. Okay, so same thing, find it in your table. So 0.7. So you can't find that, then find the nearest one. Okay, so for this one, the nearest one will be the first smaller one will be 0.9685. So how many do you need to find that? Then you can use your calculator to find it lah. So 0.7002 minus 0.6985. So you need 0.00717. So that's why you are taking the 17 here. Okay, so meaning that your answer will be k equals to 0.52. Okay, what is that? 0.17, so 5. Okay, so same thing, you can use your calculator to check your answer. So after you find it, so this is on your right hand side, then you can use the right hand one. Okay, then you can put in your value r, then 0.525, and you see whether you get the exactly same answer or not. Okay, so that's B. Okay, so let's move on to C. Pz greater than k. So if greater than k, the same thing. Now I need to decide again where is my k. So now you see your area is going to be greater than 0.5 as well, and this is greater than, so meaning you are going to shade it on your right hand side. Okay, so when I draw it, okay, am I going to draw it in the negative side or positive side? I'm going to draw it in the negative side. Why is that so? Because I need more than half. So that's why I'm going to draw my k here. And only this area can give me a area that is greater than 0.5. Okay, so now same thing, you cannot find this in your table because you know that this k is going to be a negative value. So what should you do? So you remember you did the reflection. So the same thing, you need to do it here. So now, okay, you see, when you do reflection, normally what happens? If k is negative 0.5, when you move it to the right side, it becomes 0.5. So what you actually did to that number is you use it to times with negative 1. Correct? Because negative 0.5, when you times negative 1, then this is how you get 0.5. So the same thing. So meaning that if this is k, when I reflect it, then I should be getting negative k. Okay, so I hope that you understand this negative is for you to change your original negative value to positive. It doesn't mean that your number here is a negative number. I repeat again, the negative here is an operation that you will do when you do your reflection so that your negative k will become positive. Okay, it's not means that like why this is drawn at the right hand side but then my k is negative. It's because of your k is negative, so that's why when you negative your k and this become a positive value. Okay, so now then you can continue it. So probability z greater than k will be equals to 0.7324. Okay, so you want to find, you cannot find that, then what you try to do, you find less than. So probability for k less than z less than negative k is 0.7324. Okay, so for this one, then you have already, then you can change it to 5. Okay, so now you can try to find it in your table. So 7324. Okay, so yeah, you have exactly the exact value, then you can straight away take the number, which is 62. Okay, So phi negative k will be equals to phi 0.62. Then now you see you have phi already, then only you take it out the value. So negative k will be equals to 0.62, so that's why k equals to negative 0.62, which is correct for you because you already know that your k should be a positive. If your last answer is not you should know that your k should be a negative answer when you try to draw this. If your last answer you are getting a negative positive value, then you need to worry about that. Okay, then now you can try to check it with your answer also. So same thing, this is the right side, so you can straight away use your calculator to find the right hand side. 1,5, then use R, then after that you are going to press negative 0.62. Then you can check if you really get the answer. Okay, alright, so move on to D. So probability Z smaller than K. So same thing, I'm going to draw it, then you need to decide like where is K should be. Okay, so you see this value is smaller than, so you are going to shade the left hand side of your K. So this value is smaller than half also, so that's why you are going to draw your K here. Then only my area here can be 0.1149. Okay, then after that I'm going to do the same thing. So you still remember how do you do this when you have the previous one? You are going to do first reflect. After that you get the exactly same thing like B. Then after that you use the full one to minus the smaller than part. Okay, so I'm just going to draw here so you can understand. So the first thing that you do is you need to reflect. Then after that you use the complete one to minus the part that you don't want. Okay, so you know that this is the process that you are going to do. So probability for Z smaller than K will be equals to 0.1149. Okay, so probability for Z smaller than K will be equals to 1 minus probability Z smaller than negative K. Is that okay? Alright, this is negative K because you reflect it already. So it will be equal to 0.1149. Okay, then you can try to move it around. So PZ smaller than negative K, you can change it to phi negative K here. Okay, then use your calculator to find out what is the answer for this one. Then you will have 0.8851. Okay, then after that, same thing, find it out in your table. So 8851. The nearest that you can get is 8849. So from 8849, you need to plus 2. So that's why this is how you get your answer as 1.201. Okay, because 0.8849 you need to add 2, only you can get 8851. Okay, so after that then you can continue lah. Negative K equals to 1.201, so that's why K equals to negative 1.201. Okay, so just like that. So you see this value is a negative, so it's correct if you get a negative. So if you want to check with your calculator, then you use the P, then less than, then you check and see whether when you put in this, do you get the answer. Alright, so now let's continue with the next page. Okay, so next, let's move on for E. So for this type of question, it's like we need to deal with an interval, so as what you have done in previous lesson also. Okay, so for number 1, probability for Z greater than 0.422 smaller than K equals to 0.2728. So the same thing, when you want to start, then you need to start with a graph first. Okay, sorry, all my correction here, I already did it in your handout, so you don't need to change it anymore. So it's just that I already printed it out, so I don't want to waste the paper, so that's why I just changed it on my paper. Okay, so E, so you see this Z value is greater than 422 and smaller than K. So you see when you want to try to draw it in your curve, right, what can you realize is that your K must be a positive value already, because your Z is greater than 0.422 and smaller than K. So it cannot be like smaller than a negative value but bigger than a positive value. Then you know that when you try to draw, right, then it will be something look like this, 0.422. Then after that, this is your area, then maybe this is K. Okay, so the value here, the area under this is 0.2728. Is that okay? Alright, so you already know that K will be a positive value. So after you find it, then after that it will be very easy for you already lah. So if you can recall how do you find this, then meaning that this one, you will use the area under K. Okay, then after that you use it to minus the area up to 0.422. So this is what you did for the previous exercise. Okay, then we will try to use the concept here as well. So that's why probability for 0.422, sorry, I'm going to copy first. Okay, then now I'll continue with this probability is basically equals to the probability that Z smaller than K, and then minus probability Z smaller than 0.422. Okay, then it will be equals to 0.2728. Then now I'll try to continue. Since it's smaller than already, then I can change it to 5. Okay, so now you see you have two 5 here. This one is like you want to find 5K. So you cannot do anything now because you need a specific value for you to read, then only you can find that. So now you need to solve first what is 0.422. So you see this one is finding the probability from your Z. So meaning that you are going to read outside in again. Okay, so 0.422 is you want to find the probability or the area under the curve up to 0.422. So that's why you are going to read 0.422 from your table outside to inside. So 0.42 and then 2. So do it same like what you have did for previous lesson. So 5K minus, so 0.422, 0.422. Okay, so it will be plus 7 into 0.6628, so it will be 0.6635. Okay, I hope that you are alright. So please do not confuse yourself. So this one is like you want to find 0.422 equals to what? So when you read outside, inside to outside, it's like you want to find what is your K that give you that probability. Okay, so 5K will be equals to, then you try to plus them together, then you will get 0.9363. Then now you can proceed with your answer. Okay, so what is 0.9363? Then same thing, you find it in your table. So 0.9, you need to going down again, 0.9363. So the first one that is smaller than this, then is 0.9357. Then you need to plus another 6. So this is how you get the value 0.525. Okay, so after you find that, then your K will be equals to 1.525. Alright, so you get it here, 0.9363. So you get 57. So 5, 2, and after that you need to plus 6, which give you 5. Okay, so yeah, that's number E. Okay, for F now, same thing, you need to start with sketching your graph first. So you see your Z is smaller than negative 0.422 and greater than K. So that's why for a number that is smaller than negative, then of course it will be always negative. It can only be greater than a negative number. So you know that when you try to sketch this graph, then it will be look like here, negative 0.422, and this will be your K. So it's here. Okay, so since this is a negative, so you still remember what you need to do when you get something like this, then you need to do reflection. Then only you can find your area, right? So after you do the reflection, then you only do the exactly same thing like what you have did in A, what you have done in A. Okay, so now we can continue. I hope that by looking at this, you already know how to do that. So if you not, then you try to draw everything out lah. Okay, so if you can understand, then you can like actually imagine everything in your mind and try to solve it. Okay, so K Z negative 0.422 equals to 0.2728. Yeah. Okay, it's actually the answer you already know. It will be like, if you realize it is going to be the same, I just put the exactly value so that you can understand the concept. Okay, so for you to find this, then what does that mean? Okay, one thing that makes E and F different is this. You see, I also left it out. So for this one, when you try to reflect it, negative 0.422 become positive 0.422, meaning you times it with negative. So with your K also, you need to put a negative. So meaning what are you finding? You are finding probability for Z smaller than negative K to minus the probability for Z smaller than 0.422. Okay, so yeah, just draw it very quickly. Negative K, the big one, minus the smaller one, which is 0.422. And this is how you get your answer. So 0.2728. Then now you can change it to 5. So 5 negative K will be minus 5 0.422. And then equals to, same thing, read from your table, outside, inside. So 0.422. You will be able to get 0.6635. Okay, equals to 0.2728. So 5 negative K will be equals to 0.9363. So same thing, try to read it. Now you want to find the Z. So that's why you are reading it outside in. Inside out. So negative K, 5. I'm not going to read it again now because it's exactly the same thing. Okay, then after that, how do you get your K? Negative K will be equals to 1.525. So that's why K is equals to negative 1.525. Okay, so which is correct, which K is a negative value and this value should be smaller than negative 0.422. Okay, so if you want to check your answer, then you can always check it with your calculator. So 1, then 5, then maybe I'll check for the first one, I use the right side to check. So 3, I'm going to use 0.422. And then I'll use it to minus 1.525. Okay, then you see I get exactly the same thing, then I know that is correct. So it's same thing for F also, then you can try to check it with your calculator by using your last answer and check it back. Okay, alright, so G, probability for Z, K, and 2.53. Okay, for this page, right, EFG is like the more simple cases. So meaning you actually do not have much process, or like you don't really need to have much thinking process to decide whether your K is positive or negative because of the inequality and the value that they give you. So they give you already like more than enough information for you to decide whether your K is like a positive or a negative. Like you do not have a dilemma here. Same thing go for J. So you remember something like this. So you remember half of your graph is 0.5. So that's why if you have something that is greater than 0.5, then you will know that the number, the interval that you are having, of course one will be at the left and one will be at the right. So meaning your Z value should be one positive and one negative, then only you can get an area that is more than 0.5. So for G is also a very simple case. Now you see K, Z is greater than K but smaller than 2.53, and it's going to give you an area that is greater than 0.5. So if in that case, then meaning that you already know that they will be at the different, like your Z value is going to have different sign. So meaning your K will be here, and then after that 2.53 will be here. Only with this you can get an area that is greater than 0.5. Okay, so now you can continue. So you still remember how to do this? Yeah, so you need to use the smaller than 2.53, then you need to reflect your FK again. Okay, so meaning that the first thing that you need to find is 2.53, the whole thing here. then you will need to use to minus the whole thing minus the negative k. Okay, so you forgot how to do this, please refer to the previous lesson. So I do not want to spend more time to like explain here, but then the idea is like you do a reflection for k though, so you cannot find this area because it's more than, so that's why you are finding the less than here. Okay, then you use it to minus. So that's why probability for k z 2.53 equals to 0.7554. Okay, then after that you can do probability for z smaller than 2.53 minus 1 minus probability z smaller than negative k. Okay, then it will be equals to 0.7554. Then now you can try to change it to 5. Negative k. Okay, so now you can put in your value. So same thing, read 2.53, you are going to read outside to inside. So 2.53, so it's going to be 0.9943. Okay, is here 9943. Then you need to minus 1, then you can try to expand it. So negative, negative, you get positive, and then 5 negative k, and then equals to 0.7554. Then you try to move it around, then you should be able to get 5 negative k will be equals to your answer of 0.7611. Okay, so meaning you minus 0.9943 and you plus 1. Okay, so after this, then you can find it in your table now. So 0.7611, which give you 0.71. So 5 negative k will be equals to 0.71. Okay, so which your k is basically negative 0.71, which is correct lah. 1 positive, 1 negative, then this is how you get an area that is greater than 0.5. Okay, so now move on to the last two questions. So this is the question that you might feel a little bit confusing, like compared to the EFG that we have just now, and this is why the idea of like the percentage that I explained to you in the first place will make sense here. Okay, so now you see these two questions, I use the same number, which is negative 0.432, then I put different value here. So both of this value is not greater than 0.5. But then how do you know that your k is a positive or a negative? Because you see, the idea is like, if I'm going to try to draw it out, right? Then I will have, okay, I try to draw it here. The only thing that you know is, you know k is greater than negative 0.432. Okay, but then your k is greater than this one. So you have an idea of either you can label your k at the negative side or label your k at the positive side. So how do you know that? Because if your k is negative or like, okay, whether your k is a positive or a negative is going to affect the process that you are going to do when you want to solve this question, right? So that's why it's very important for you to know that where is your k. So how do you know it if I have some question like that? Because 0.4328 is possible that maybe I can have a negative or I can have a positive. So I do not sure that whether it's a positive because this value didn't give me like the previous question that I have a area. So if this number is greater than 0.5, then I definitely know that my k is a positive value. But this is like 0.4328. So how am I going to know that? Okay, so this is how the percentage come in. So you see this. Okay, so now you have negative 0.432, which is like somewhere here. Okay, so if you still remember, from -1 to 0, it contributes 34%. This is 43%. Is that make sense if you have two negative value here that give you a percentage more than 34? No. It's like impossible that you are trying to label here and here, then you got an answer that is 0.4328. So this is how you know that your k is a positive value. Is that okay? So you see, your negative 0.432 will be somewhere here, right? So you already know that it will be cutting half, then it will be like maybe left with like 20%, I don't know. So from your negative value to 0 here, it only contribute like 0.2. So it cannot be your k is a negative is a negative value, then it will give you 0.4328. So that's why you definitely know that your k is going to be positive, then only I can have an area which is 0.4328. So the same thing go for I, for 0.1221. So how am I going to know like k is a positive or negative? So this is how you check also. So the same thing I'm going to label here. So since this is 0.1221, that means that if I'm going to draw it like half here, then maybe it contribute 20%. Is that possible that like 12% happen for negative or positive? So you can see that your higher chances, your k will be at the negative side also. Because like having this part is more than enough for me to have like 12%. Because it's like, of course, like half of 34% is like 17%. So you know that like 12% is like less than half. So it's like very likely that your k will be a negative answer also. Okay, but then if of course that it might be a positive value lah, and you will realize it when you try to do the question, and you realize when you want to solve your phi, you cannot get an answer that is like greater than 0.5, then you know there's something wrong there. Okay, so let's move on for this. So since h, you have like, obviously you know that your k is going to be positive, then we can straight away do this. Okay, so 0, negative 0.432, then this is going to be positive k. Okay, so the whole area here, it will give me an answer of 0.4328. Then now I can try to solve this. Okay, so this is like very similar to the question G that we have done just now. It's just that just now we are finding negative value, so now we are finding the positive value. Okay, so the same thing, I'm not going to draw it again. So I hope that by looking at this, you should know that what do you need to do. Okay, so 0.4328. So you know that you are going to use the area smaller than k, right? Probability z smaller than k. And then you are going to reflect this and find the less than part. So minus 1 minus probability z smaller than 0.432. So if you don't understand, then you can try to draw it. So 0.4328. Okay, it's just basically reflection, then it become more than, so you want to find less than, so your negative 0.432 become positive now. Okay, then you can continue it. So phi k will be minus 1, so negative you get positive 5, and then 0.432, it will be equals to 0.4328. Okay, so I'll continue with it. So phi k minus 1, so you can try to read it from your table, 432. So it will give you 0.6664 plus 7. So that will give you 0.6671. Okay, it will be equals to 0.4328. Okay, then we'll try to put them together. Like for all the number, you can solve it. So you should able to get an answer for 0.7657. Okay, 8 minus 1, 7, yeah, correct. Let me check it again. Yeah, okay. So after that, you can find it in your table 7657. Okay, so meaning that you will use this value, the 7642 to plus 15. Okay, so 5k will be equals to 0.725. Okay, so your k will be equals to 0.725. Okay, will there be a possibility that maybe you forget the percentage, then you do not know that your k is a positive and a negative, then you do with the one that you feel it is, then after that when you try to do the other approach, you will realize that you can't get the answer. Okay, maybe I will try to like show you very quickly here. Okay, so this is the wrong demonstration. So if you are, it's not wrong demonstration, it's a demonstration of a wrong approach. Okay, so if you thought that your k is a negative value also, so what are you going to do? Then you are going to reflect it, then you are going to use the bigger one, which is 0.432 to minus the k, right? So you are going to reflect it like k and 0.432. Then you are going to use the probability for z smaller than 0.432 to minus probability for z smaller than k. Then this becomes negative k lah, because you reflect it. So equals to your answer. Okay, so can we try to check it out? What is the outcome look like? So 5, 0.432 minus 5, negative k equals to 0.4328. So 0.432, just now we already find, so 0.6671 minus 5, negative k. Okay, then I'm going to change the place. So 0.6671 minus 0.4328. So you get 0.2343. Okay, so now what's the problem? You realize that this number, you are not getting a number that is greater than 0.5. You can't read it from the table, then you know that something wrong here. Okay? Because the idea is like, if you are trying to do this, then meaning you are assuming actually an area that is much more lesser than 0.4328 than what it's supposed to be. So that's why when you try to solve it, then you realize that you get an answer that is like pretty small. So that's why you like can't really read it from the table, then you realize that you got something wrong lah. Then this is why you need to check it again, like when your k is positive, and see whether you get the normal process or not. Okay, so let's move on to I. Okay, so I'm just showing you the negative first. So we are doing the right thing first. Okay, so we know that k is a negative value also. So negative 0.432. Okay, so meaning we are going to do reflection here. It's like what I draw here lah. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Probability negative . Okay, so I will use probability z smaller than 0.432 minus the probability z smaller than negative k. Okay, so I'll get 5, 0.432 and then minus 5, negative k. So you see it's exactly the same thing that what I have done just now. It's just that now the value is different. So you can see how is that look like if it's correct. Okay, so when I try to minus it, I'll get 0.432 and then minus 0.1221, which will give me 0.398. Sorry, I forget to write it here. You see, cast mistake. Okay, find 0.432. So find it in your table. I forget this one. So 0.6671. Okay, minus, then you get this. So now you can solve it with your calculator. Okay, so 0.6671 minus 0.1221. Okay, so you will get 0.525. So you see, if you are going wrong, then you are getting a number that's like you can't read from a table. But if you are doing it correct, then you see it's going to be like a number that you are able to read it from your table lah. So 545. So meaning you are going for 54538, and then you are going to plus another 12. So meaning is here. Okay, so it's 113. Okay, so what is your K? Your K will give you 0.113. Okay, so same thing, you can try to use your calculator to check your answer and see. And of course, if you forget about the percentage, you can try and error in your calculator, like use any positive and negative value, then you can try to predict like how's the area look like. Then you will know that like whether you should go for a positive approach or a negative approach. So for this one, it's the same thing. If you are doing it like same like this, then what you are going to get is like a number that is going to be like smaller than 0.5, which you can't read from the table. Then you know that your approach, there is something wrong already. Okay, alright, so I hope that you can understand everything, and please try every question out. Then after that, for next week, we are going to look into some question on like the modeling and how to solve the problem. Okay, so enjoy your weekend. So thanks.